Okay. All right, let's call to order the Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 meeting for the Berea Planning Commission business session. This is the call to order, and recognize any visitors who are not on the agenda, may have any questions or concerns or comments. Seeing none, we will move on to the minutes for May 23rd, 2023. Any questions or concerns there? We'll entertain a motion. We have a motion from Denise, and second?
I'll second.
Second from Stephanie. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Okay, old business. Looks like Shortline Investments LLC, Jared Carpenter, letter of credit, Central Park North, Block 2, $44,700, expires August 12, 2023, requesting extension for 1 year. And
Mr. Chairman, I've spoken to the developer as of today, and as you notice that expiration date, we're actually here a little bit early for his expiration date. He has just a few remaining items for street acceptance. So the intention is to get those completed before the August 12th deadline. But just in case, I wanted to bring it to Planning Commission, request the extension for 1 year, so that we would be able to have that that new letter of credit in the case that it does go past August 12th. But we anticipate in the next 30 days to have the items completed and get it on the agenda for the city council to accept the street. And that is Central Park Avenue. But again, the request is to request the new letter of credit from him so that we have that in place.
okay. Any commissioners have questions? No concerns? Everybody feels okay? So we will be entertaining a motion for an extension.
I make a motion that we extend the letter of credit for Shortline Investments, Central Park North Block 2, in the amount of $44,700, expiring August 12, 2023, to extend it to August 12, 2024.
We have a motion. Second?
Second.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. We'll put it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Second part of old business, Villages of Beaumont Farms, Innovative Property Investments LLC, Picket Flats Road and Legacy Drive. The bond is $73,000. There's a request for extension for 1 year. And
So I actually want to revise that request. So this is a bond for Villages of Beaumont Farm that does not expire. So what happens is, as long as the development's open, they send us a new bond each December. And I think, I'm not sure how it got off where it's due in July, but the bond renews in December. If you've been out to Beaumont recently, you've seen that there's quite a bit of construction. So this is the area of Garden Gate Drive, which is the first road off of Legacy Drive in Beaumont. And then the second road, which is Pauline Drive, and which is the project of Harvest Commons. And it's mostly built out now. Again, we anticipate, just with all the construction, some finalization to this project, or to at least to this bond in the next year. what we would request is that instead of renewing it for 1 year, that we would renew it until December of 2024. And the reason that we want to do that is just to make the bond and the planning commission renewal all due at the same time. So instead of just doing it for 6 months, do it for 1.5 years, because we've got a current bond until December. So we would just get a new one in December, and then the planning commission basically give approval for 1.5 years.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Commission? Certainly entertaining a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to extend the bond for Villages of Beaumont and Innovative Property Investments LLC, Wendell Combs, Christian Ock, at Peggy Flats Road and Legacy Drive, in the amount of $73,000 to expire December 31st, 2024.
We have a motion, you have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Johnson, thank you. Let's put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. Item number 1, 1601 Ferristown Industrial Drive, MP Kelly, Jack Kelly, development plan approval waiver request for a gravel lot.
Hello, my name is Jack Kelly, here to request a variance to install a gravel lot. Be right to the right of the building shown above, be 3 acres. And we would be adjusting the detention basin as well to accommodate this lot.
So what you see on the screen is a aerial view of a spec building that MP Kelly currently has under construction. Our aerial mapping just happens to be pretty recent, so it's from February of this year. So it looks pretty complete in this. So this was basically their phase 1, if you want to call it that. They currently have a development plan for review to add an additional 42,000 square feet to the rear of this structure. And then, as shown on your development plan, there'll be a 3-acre gravel lot to the east that would be permanently gravelled. And so our regulations state that basically lots have to be paved or concrete or, pavers. There's 3 or 4 options, but gravel is not one of those. And so anytime we have a proposal for gravel lots, it must come to Planning Commission for a waiver. This also, with this addition, would put them over the size where the Planning Commission would have to approve their development now. So it's kind of twofold. The development review team has reviewed it, and all deficiencies have been corrected on that revised site plan, with the exception of stormwater. So there are a few items that the city engineer is working out with their design engineer. So the staff would recommend an approval of the development plan with a contingency based on final approval by the city engineer. But then also there is the issue of the consideration of the waiver for gravel staging area. Is that what you would call it? Or parking area?
Yes, it's essentially a gravel area for long-term storage. So what they're going to be storing there is these 30,000-pound counterweights. Essentially, they're huge metal objects that sit on a 5x5 pallet. And the reason we need it to be gravel is because these things are so heavy, they're going to destroy concrete or pavement quickly. So gravel lets us kind of go back in, roll it, and regrade it quickly just to maintain the lot. And that's, if they're going to sit there, it's 3 months worth of storage for a local company. And that's the purpose of the lot itself.
Okay. So in the motion would be, in the motion, we would be stating that we'd be wanting the approval of the engineer. for the
Approval
proper-
contingent upon, I would just say final approval by the city engineer, and then a consideration one way or the other of the gravel lot request, waiver request.
Okay. All right. Questions from the commission? Anybody have anything? Any concerns?
So does this mean because of what's going to be stored there that you're periodically going to come back and continuing add gravel on top of this as soil compacts?
Well, so as we construct it, we'll go ahead and we'll cut it all to grade, and then we'll proof roll everything. Once that compaction's been approved by a special inspections engineer and certified by our civil engineer, we'll go ahead and put that stone base on it. And before we leave, we get like a certification from our civil engineer that, hey, you constructed this per our plans and specs. So the idea is that, over time, the gravel, it might displace a little bit. Pavement, you'd be digging into it with these heavy counterweights. You can just come back with a skid steer, back drag it, and then roll it, and you're kind of back to your original grade. So we really wouldn't be adding any more stone. I mean, every year you might dump one truckload out there and just kind of grade it out. That'd be about it.
Will you be using a geotech fabric in combination with this?
No, we're currently not designed that way. Instead, you can kind of see we have a ADS 4-inch drain pipe down the center of the lot. So it's all roughly sloping there to the middle, and that's going to take all of our excess sediment and water as well. Yes, sir. Yeah.
We have very small print. Sometimes it's hard for us to see.
Yeah, it is, and there's a lot going on this plan too, so, yeah, so I understand. So currently, the pond, it would need to be enlarged for this plan. And so what will happen is, we'll get some stormwater, I guess you want to call it like infiltration measures, so that it kind of filters what's coming off that gravel.
Gravel being passive and stuff like that, you still have to have a little bit of slope toward your pump, because your pump is in case
Yep.
to interior into the pump.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And one thing that our engineer, the city's consulting engineer, says is that gravel lots are about 80% as pervious as pavement or, I'm sorry, impervious. And so the stormwater calculations were considered for the gravel.
Okay. Any other thoughts or concerns? We will certainly entertain a motion if somebody wants to give it a shot.
I want a motion that we approve this.
You gotta add a little more to
More
that.
to it, I can,
Motion to approve pending, the engineering for the
Storm,
water,
I'd say,
stormwater.
city engineer approval.
state it's city engineer approval, or Amanda,
For-
Including a waiver.
including the waiver. Okay.
And waiver.
Are you gonna add anything else to it? Chris?
So we have a motion on the floor. No, I don't think so. So we have a motion on the floor, the motion to approve the development plan and waiver request pending city engineering approval. Does that sound right?
That was, yeah, we'll,
Did I say that?
we'll make sure that it includes the waiver, approval of the waiver request for
For the
gravel
lot, yes.
And the address of the site.
for 1601 Fairstown Industrial Drive.
Okay. So the motion is for approval of the development plan and the waiver request for the gravel lot, 1601 Fairstown Industrial Drive, pending city engineer approval.
I got it.
So that's our motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Martin. Let's vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Second item of new business is 430 Paint Lick Road, Eugene Epperson, AGT Engineering. This is a development plan for approval and waiver for a sidewalk and variance for buffer location. And if you want to explain that, that'd be great.
So I'm Alex Godsey. This
And
is,
my name is Justin Epperson, representing my grandpa, Gene Epperson, who owns Area Supply here in Berea.
so our development is a 1 acre, a development that's currently undeveloped, and the purpose of the development is to build a new location for the Area Supply, which is already currently located in Berea. And the reason we're here is because in the process of the site plan review, there was the issue of the buffer, we call it a vegetative landscape buffer. The way that our site kind of lent itself to stormwater drainage, there's a really large ditch along the state road there, and a catch basin in the ditch line there, where all of our runoff it goes now and will ultimately go. And so the detention basin needed to be along the right of way there, and we kind of designed that very flat with 3-to-1 slopes, very easy to maintain and mow, but that used up the area where typically you would use for a landscape buffer. And so one request that we're making is to be able to put that landscape buffer behind our detention, which will be just a sodded grass swale. It may not even appear like a detention basin, the way it's only going to be 3 feet deep, and the slopes will be very gentle. So we'd like to put that buffer along our parking lot to shield the building from the road. And what I'm showing there is 10-foot diameter trees, the canopies of the trees, and 4-foot shrubs, and that is per the regulations, 10-foot landscape buffer with, we needed to have, since we have, I think we have 180 feet of frontage, is that right?
I don't remember, but
At any rate, we needed 4 shade trees per the regulations, and we needed a tree every 30 feet. So that totaled up to 9 trees. And so I used 9 large trees and filled in the rest with the 4-foot hedge for the landscape buffer. And so really the only deviation from the regulations is just where it's located further away from the edge of the right of way than the regulations state. And then the other request that we have for you is the sidewalk regulation. And I guess I'm a little bit inexperienced with Berea's regulations, but I interpreted them to mean that we need sidewalks in subdivisions and residential type developments. And so I kind of didn't start out by putting that sidewalk along the edge of the right of way. And so where it would be located would be right in the center of our detention pond. And then the other issue with it is where we're on such a busy highway. I think the state has asked that we not do sidewalks, or that Berea not do sidewalks like at the Kentucky Fried Chicken development that's very close. And so we wanted to ask if you could give us the waiver for that sidewalk on our particular development as well.
And so I will just confer that that's the case for the development, basically 3 lots down. You can see that there was sidewalk put along Dogwood, but the state actually came to us and said they would prefer not to have sidewalk along this. And as you know, we've got a lot of big trucks here. This is pretty heavily traveled. And really just not a lot of walkability in that area. I think we do need to do some regulation, in our regulation updates, we do need to be more specific about commercial developments, but it's generally been that we require sidewalks for every development. You know, even industrial park developments get sidewalks. So it's just been consistent that the city wants that walkability, but I think we want that in the right places. And then again, with just the buffer requirement, generally that is along your frontage. Requirement is that we provide that 10-foot buffer from the highway to any commercial, any highway, state highway, federal highway, to a commercial development. And so in this case, it would just be backed up a little bit. So the buffer would still be there, just backed up off the road a little bit.
How far does the state highway easement go over there?
I think it's 60 feet wide. Didn't we talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
Is that red
Let me see
line?
if it's on your,
Yeah,
It's
the red
100?
line is a 25-foot setback from the right of way. So the right of way line is a darker line.
25 feet.
Yeah, at the toe of the slope of the detention. So if the buffer were there, it would kind of be down in a depressed kind of location. So it wouldn't really do much buffering. But if we raise it up to our parking lot level, then it'll form a nice buffer, you know,
Yeah.
visually.
Where does that retention basin empty into?
There is you can see in the detention basin, there's a drain box, and then, yes, you got your cursor on it.
right here.
There's a drop box there that has a pipe that goes underneath of 21 and down through a natural drain that eventually ends up in, I can't remember what.
Paint lick. I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know. Paint Lick is the next little community
Okay.
down.
I was just gonna shake my head and that's
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really, it's just a natural drainage from there.
Got something. The sidewalk is there now. Nobody uses it. It dead ends into a hole at the campground. I mean, nobody uses it. I mean, I know it get broke up, city fixes it. I know that for a fact. But anyway, there's no sidewalk. Nobody can use it. You can't get on down on the campground side. So, you know, I mean, it's really no use. I mean, we built all those little sidewalks back years ago that went into nowhere, you know, and it ended nowhere.
Yeah, and you can see, I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit. You can see whether they didn't seek relief from the regulation or, you know, they were told no. I don't know what the deal was, but the car wash looks like it probably has a sidewalk, at least from my aerial view.
It's on the property. It's on the property, the car wash property.
And it's not out on the right of
It
way,
is on the
correct?
property.
Yeah, it's
Because-
25 feet back on the car wash.
Yeah, it's really far back,
And so
yeah.
that lines it up with, our lot has been fenced previously, and so it runs right in, it would run right into our fence, and then, you know, there's a fence on the other side also, so even if we did try to make it work we'd have to take fences down or something. I mean, wouldn't be, wouldn't be easy.
One more question while I got the mic on. What about the entranceway? Does the state have a certain distance where the entranceways have to be from the other entranceway, or are they too close or not too close?
Well, this one's already there. So they would use an existing entrance. So if I zoom in just a little bit, they'll basically improve the existing entrance. I would imagine that you're probably right, that if you tried to get, I don't know, because I don't know that's why the state makes those decisions and we don't. But, I don't know what the distance of, if you were trying to get this approval today, they may make you move it. I don't know what that distance is. Do you happen to know?
My experience has been that there's not a distance, but like, the radius that an entrance has, they don't allow you to take that back in front of your neighbor's property. If you do that, you have to get permission from your neighbor. They call it frontage rights. There's even a place for them to sign on the encroachment permit application. But on an access by permit highway like this, about the only thing that stops you from getting an entrance is a sight distance problem or some sort of close proximity to a road where a road comes out, or where a road intersection, I'm sorry. And then they might back you up because they don't want you causing trouble for the intersection.
This will be the only entrance in and out?
Yep.
Okay.
See, what I'm saying, that entrance is right here, that entrance is right here, so who's gonna know who's pulling out? That's why the state's got that regulations on certain distance between the things. I probably shouldn't, but, because I own that land there, but that's something that I've always understood, that, your entrance has to be so far apart. I don't care if I'm using my entrance or whatever, but, but that's okay if that works for the state, it works with me, because.
I think we can certainly reach out and just make sure that existing entrance is not in any kind of conflict for them. I think that's certainly acceptable to do.
Of course, I don't have any problem with sidewalk either, Most people come through that sidewalk are high, so they don't know if they're in the road or in the ditch. I forgot to turn my mic off.
I don't think you forgot.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
There's no contingency from the development design team, is there, in this case?
I'm sorry, yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, for stormwater as well. So, they've submitted to the city engineer, we have, just a few items
I've
to
actually
address.
already addressed his stormwater concerns, and I just have to package it back up and send it to him.
Okay,
So I'm just kind of waiting on this, because if we had to do something different, that would change everything. So-
yeah, yeah.
So-
So, yeah,
So-
contingency for city engineer approval.
Okay. Any other thoughts one way or the other? Any concerns? Okay, let's entertain a motion for, development plan, we'll entertain a motion, I'll just say that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Awesome.
to approve the development plan for 430 Paint Lick Road, contingent upon the approval of the city engineer, including a waiver for the sidewalk and a variance for the buffer location.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Barnett. Any other concerns? Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, good.
Thank you.
Glad to see some positive action going on down there. I'm on
Yeah.
that end of town too, so that looks real nice.
Yeah, I'm glad to have area supply moving my end of town, too.
I just let Bring get it out now.
Yeah,
Y'all got landlocked with that.
absolutely.
They rolled there.
So,
Teams over road.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Stephanie. Thank you. And if anybody's opposed, we're not opposed. We're adjourned.